Hello, welcome to the WESDAY NITE podcast again. Welcome back. We're here. I'm currently in a Fordham study room right now, undisclosed, because I don't know if you have to reserve one of these, but I just found it and I want to get this episode done because I'm a little hungry. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I'm a menace. I just want to overload my schedule and fit things where they probably shouldn't. This is the second time now. Wes, go grab a sandwich. You know what I mean? I don't even know why I'm doing this in this state right now. Also, disclaimer, my mouth is really watery right now. I don't know if it's because of having to talk so much. I have no idea, but I'm really getting used to it. So bear with me. I'm really sorry about that. But welcome to the Wesisode. Like I promised, I have to start with talking about myself. But today we're just going to be talking about 8 of the coolest Wes's I know. Guys who sort of have changed what they do, the respective fields. So starting off with me, I'm Wes Nathan Mangansai, born in Glendale, California, to 2 immigrant Filipino parents named Richard and Riza. And my father was actually an animator for The Simpsons for about 16 years, but he also worked on other stuff relative to Disney and what Fox was doing. This is sort of my background. This is kind of what's made me who I am today. I ended up going to school in Glendale. I went to private school all the way, pretty much my whole life, which is interesting. And I think a lot about if I'm a product of religious schooling or not. I have no idea. My parents did it more so for just the security of having a good education. So props to them. I ended up going to high school in Pasadena later. And in high school, I ended up falling in love with music and the arts in general. A lot more so just because even though my father's work was always creative, I was almost turned off weirdly because it was so good. But he's the guy I've been, I guess, emulating in my adult life so far. Really look up to him in a lot of ways. And here I am today. I'm here at Fordham. End up getting scholarship. I moved out to New York now. It's been, of course, life-changing. I just had to pull through with my promise of talking about myself. But in reality this is just a joke. This is more so for you guys to get to know the guy behind the mic a little bit. I'm of course still developing, still working hard on what I really want to do and want to be known for. So the real person that we should start with today is Wes Archer, the guy I'm named after. He is oh damn, I hit the mic. Man, this is just a mess. I need to blow my It's illness season today, It's we're hitting the brink of spring. So I guess it's a little bit of the allergies or what. It's supposed to be around 50s, 40s, but it was 20s, 30s the other day. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. That's the thing is recording these episodes while I'm sick. It's going to be interesting. Is my sick voice going to be interesting to watch? Am I going to have a consistent flow? Certainly have to edit around these breaks of me trying to clear my voice right now, so this is really annoying. But yeah, I'm named after Wes Archer, current executive producer of Rick and Morty. He's worked on other stuff too. I'm pretty sure he was on The Simpsons for a while, which is how my dad sort of knows him. But my dad knew him personally, met him, and sort of was inspired by the kind of guy he was. So he's still with us today. I'd love to meet him. On some level, I hope he listens to this, whether it's way down the line or, I don't know. He's probably never gonna listen to this, but I do want to meet him. Just to say hey, my name is from your name, to his face. I don't know. Get to know him, I guess. But the real guy I also want to mention is Wes Takahashi. He's a special effects animator and supervisor at, I don't know, ILM. The research is going to be so spotty this episode because I mainly am just want to. This is just really centered around these people's names. Let's be honest. But these are all people that have, like I said, done crazy things. So I do want to sort of give them a little bit of props at least. So yeah, he's really known for his work with Back to the Future. A lot of the time traveling sequences in the first or the only three movies he's sort of had his imprint on, and has been especially behind those iconic sequences. On top of that, he's also worked on movies like Top Gun, Goonies, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, classic, Frighteners, Tropic Thunder. He was on Star Trek Six, or worked on it, and Willow. Some of these I've seen, some of these I haven't, but the point is that he's, made his mark on the game of entertainment. And I mean, especially, most importantly, something that's a little subconscious that's he's sort of behind is the DreamWorks logo, the boy on the moon fishing. It was DreamWorks is I think my dad worked at DreamWorks at some point, and he thought that sequence was cool, and that just the idea of like the DreamWorks boy on the moon is like really cool, and it's very interesting to know that a Wes is behind that. Yeah, so shout out to Wes Takahashi, he's still with us today. Um, I hope he's doing well. The next guy I want to bring up, and specifically because I've been really playing a lot of chess, it's really weird. Um, some people can attest to this. I've been like looking back at old games, sort of getting to know like the names of players and stuff. It's been really interesting. I don't know why. Like I've had this love of chess like since very early in my life, but it's been like sort of on and off, and it's back on. So next person that wants to play me, I want the smoke. I've been studying openings. You know what I'm saying? You could probably beat me if you've just studied more a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. I try to it's been helping exercise my pattern recognizing, especially, and understanding like certain positional situations in which a player has an advantage or disadvantage. That's besides the point. The next person I want to bring up is Wesley So, and yes, Wesleys do count because Wesleys often, refer to themselves as Wesses. I mean, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like people like to call me Wesley, even though that's not my name, but I don't care because I don't mind it, and I'm not that mean. So, excuse me for counting Wesleys as Wesses. Wesley So is born in the Philippines. He's a Filipino chess player. I think he's currently the seventh ranked in the world. He hit a ELO, which is like sort of a chess skill rating that is based off of like a lot of different algorithms and whatnot. But his highest ELO was 2,822, which is the fifth highest players ever reached in history, which is very interesting. Currently, the highest is Magnus Carlsen. I mean, right now, currently, but also just the record for 2,882. So not much higher than Wesley, but yeah, he's born in 1993. He was born in 1993 in Bacoor, Philippines. Sort of like I guess a little south of Manila. I guess like is that still Luzon? I don't know. Filipino pride. Let's go. And he's the aggressive player, and he has sort of been a prodigy his whole life. He moved up his ranks in the Filipino games, and he ended up transferring his representation into the U.S. And he's just been killing it ever since. He's the youngest to 2,600 ELO. I guess to put this whole ELO thing in perspective, if you don't really know chess like that, Stockfish is the current like highest rated, most well-oiled chess engine, and that thing is rated at like 3,800, like 1,000 higher than like the highest human has ever achieved so far. So he was the youngest to 2,600 at 15 years old, and very impressive. Currently, just killing the game. He's beaten the likes of Magnus Carlsen, the best player in the world today, Hikaru Nakamura. Just really high level play from this guy. Currently, he just lives in Minnesota. He's chilling with his family. Very devout Christian. Reads the Bible a lot. He's like I said, he's known for that aggressive style, which is something that I kind of align with because I'm very much like I try to attack first. But I've been learning, like I said, I've been learning to play black and being reactionary, and I feel there's a lot I can learn from a lot of chess players in general. But like his games would be especially fun to look over it, just knowing that he was like 9 or whatever. He was like killing adults in the Philippines, in the game. The next Wes that we're sort of talking about, there's not really good transitions. We're just listing off Wes's, all right? I mean, a lot of these people, it's very personal to me, though, because a lot of what these people do, they've made their imprint on things that I really love, which includes Wes Montgomery. I know his name is John Leslie, but I mean, he's known as Wes. He's Wes. Everyone remembers Wes. Come on. So, Wes Wes Montgomery, jazz guitarist, added to the sounds of like hard bop and like jazz fusion. Like soul and just his technique of like playing the guitar and just bringing like a different sound to it in general, just a different feel for the literal feel for the instrument. Born in Indiana, 1923, Wes Montgomery. Yeah, he's worked with a lot of like people in jazz who've just changed the game. That's the thing is I haven't really done the research, the proper research, so I'm trying not to like talk out of my butt right now. But I need to listen to more of his albums. I've listened to a little bit of Wes Montgomery when I was in high school, sort of getting into a little bit more jazz and even like the blues sound a little bit. But he's a name that was highlighted just because of his name alone. But I've listened to a little bit of his music, and um, this comes off very soulful and just unique. I don't know if I've really like listened to a lot of other enough jazz to really say this, but like I don't really know any other guitarists that sound like Wes Montgomery. He used to pluck his strings with like the with his thumb in a weird way, and he really stroking like notes, like in between each other when he was playing octaves and chords. He did it because he had a more quiet tone, I guess. He tried to play quietly for the sake of the people he sort of lived around, and that sort of bled into his performance on stage and on record. The way he sort of used his thumb on the guitar specifically. I mean, more people would probably be more familiar with explaining his technique, but from what I understand, he had a different way of really playing. That's probably emulated a lot today to try to get like that very specific sound of his. Need to listen to more Wes Montgomery. Hopefully, I could put some in the background of this episode today. Pivoting into music, we're going into film now, another art, and two great, amazing directors that I'm proud to call Wes's. Wes Anderson, let's talk about him. All right, Wes Anderson, born in Texas, Houston, I think. I'm like, it's so confusing because it's like, how? Like, he comes, his movies is like, yeah, his perspective on life is like pretty alien, frankly. But let alone like it doesn't seem very American almost. Like not to, I wouldn't go full blown and say his movies give off foreign film, sort of impressions. But he definitely is like his movie making is aware of things outside of the American taste and consumption. On top of like commenting on America already through his stories. A lot of his stories tackle like family drama, very complicated individuals, and dealing with their own forms of flawedness. Like here's another one where Wes is like, wow, he did literally like no research, but I've only watched like 4 of his movies. Granted, he has 10 out right now, so almost half of his movies I've watched. I need, like I said, I need to watch more of his movies, but a lot of the movies I've seen of his already have been amazing. To speak on them, it's Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic, and what else have I watched? What else have I watched? What else have I watched? Fantastic Mr. Fox, that's a great one. And Grand Budapest Hotel, which is literally like a masterpiece, and like I love that movie so much. To go specifically on like what those movies are about, Royal Tenenbaums is about like a genius but kind of not really well meshed family. The Life Aquatic is about, I guess, middle-aged crisis man going out to sea. That one's like the worst movie I guess out of the 4 that's mentioned. I don't remember too much on it just because I just didn't find it like all that entertaining compared to his other films. Because Fantastic Mr. Fox is Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like if you're not watching that, then what are you doing with your time? And then same with Grand Budapest. Yeah, I need to watch more of his movies. His first movie, Bottle Rocket. His latest movie, French Dispatch. In between, you got Moonrise Kingdom, another critically lauded movie, Isle of Dogs, Darjeeling Limited, just to name some. Currently, he's working on a movie. I think that's being filmed in Mexico or something. Really wild. And crazy cast. He's got like Willem Dafoe and like Margot Robbie, Tom Hanks, ScarJo, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, like all these people on board. Steve Carell. What a. I'm just like looking at this cast right now. It's like actually pretty wild cast. Adrian Brody, Bryan Cranston. Okay, that's besides the point. Another great movie, another great filmmaker, known for his visual style. Very much has a unique way of displaying things on screen. The best way I can like describe his movie making is like that I've said before. It's like Wes Anderson makes movies the same way like Pharrell makes beats, and not in like the stylistic sense, like, but it's just more like the fact that all his movies are just so clean, like in every sense, the story wise, visually, the music, and it's the same with the Pharrell beat. Like it's very much unique to them. Like you know a Wes Anderson movie when you see one, you know a Pharrell beat when you hear one, but there's something about it where you can't totally pinpoint exactly what it is that like makes their works like specifically so their style, but other than just like it's just very well done. And you could hear the influences, you could hear with like their taste through it, but you can't, what I mean, like you're never gonna get down to it. Ultimately, like they are their own genres in it of themselves. So just putting that out there as something that you want. Wes Anderson, go watch his movies. Another person you gotta watch his movies is Wes Craven. All right. Granted, like I need to watch more Wes Craven myself. But he, was born in 1939 in Cleveland. He actually, it's very interesting. People don't know this, but Wes Craven actually had a pretty solid academic career before he started making films. He actually had a undergrad degree in English and psychology with Wheaton College in Pennsylvania, and he ended up getting his master's in philosophy and writing at Johns Hopkins. Something to think about. He still stayed in that world, ended up teaching in the mid 60s as a professor, actually, at some point. And then he started picking up a camera and making short films, which is like so cool, right? Like in his 30s or whatever. I guess he never stopped since then. His first gig, believe it or not, like was porn. He directed porn, like pornography films. And I guess just sort of through crafting these like X-rated movies, he sort of found his style and like I guess, the intensity and sort of like almost grotesqueness that he wanted to tackle in like many different movies later on. But he just probably explored a lot of that in like these porn movies. Frankly, it's very interesting. Like I don't know too many directors who really have that same kind of come up. And he ended up just practically like being the godfather of the slasher film genre. He made Nightmare on Elm Street. He created Freddy Krueger, guys. Like, I mean, I don't know if you know Freddy Krueger, but that's like deep, deep in my psyche till this day. Still freaks me out. I need to rewatch Nightmare on Elm Street just because of how good it actually is. I remember just not really finishing it as a kid, even just because it was scary. On top of that, he actually directed the first four Scream movies. Haven't watched all the Screams, of course, but I watched like a bit of the first one and stuff. So yeah, like another, Wes not doing research, but like another guy who's like stuff like you could kind of just explore. He directed The Hills Have Eyes, Swamp Thing, People Under the Stairs, among others. I mean, Hills Have Eyes, I watched the remake because, born in the 21st century. Yeah, and his movies generally are just tackling like a lot of family conventions and challenging the way we see how we should punish people who don't hold those kinds of structures sacred. Or maybe, I don't know, just in general, people who do bad things and not really caring about, their effect on other people, and thus they get sort of punished in like this very like absurd or surreal way with like these killers and monsters and stuff. Yeah, he just added to the horror canon in general, and he's kind of unerasable a lot of with his mark. He died in 2015 in Los Angeles. Sad to say, but not without doing his thing, really accomplishing what he like wanted to with horror. Now let's talk ball. We got to talk about the legend himself, Wes Unseld. His real name is Wesley, which is very interesting because it's like sometimes I have to tell people there's no T in like my name. It's just West, not West. So I can imagine why he would just shorten it to West, just because like Wesley, like people would be like, oh, how do you spell that? Whatever, right? Like he's a former center for the Baltimore/Washington Bullets. He was a baller though, undersized for his position. He was a center, but like was like 6'7", which is like the size of a forward today, to be honest. But he still held his own in like a game that was very much centered around centers and big men. He was a great rebounder. He's kind of really well known for that, sort of being the prototype of that undersized rebounder, Charles Barkley type almost. Um, just a solid pick setter too, very much known for having that like sort of stone wall. You're running into an immovable object type kind of pick, which is very interesting because that would make him a very effective player in today's game too. Like just the way he set picks. He also was like a forefather of the outlet pass when you get the rebound, which is something that he was like great at doing. A lot of the time, your teammate can just like run ahead of the opposing team and like go run and get a basket real quick. So you as like the rebounder have to pass the ball like across the whole court pretty much in anticipation of where they're gonna be. Very much like a quarterback pass almost. And he was the best at that at the time, setting like the precedent for like the effectiveness of that play. Interesting fact though, I remember watching him play, and it's like, oh, he's like a little like Kevin Love almost, like just the way he sort of like outlet passed, rebounded, and that's like very interesting because he's also literally Kevin Love's godfather. So like on some level, Kevin probably actually like picked up on like his teachings and his game or whatever. But yeah, like he's his godfather. Like I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Kevin Love. You guys just search up who Kevin Love is, and he's an NBA champion. Talking about NBA champion, Wes Unseld is one as well. Well, actually, as a college freshman, I have to mention this. He averaged 36 points and 24 rebounds, like just insane 2K numbers. Just was killing it in college as a 6'7" center. He won Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. It's only been done twice, otherwise done by Will Chamberlain in his rookie year. But yeah, 1969, Wes Unseld, Rookie of the Year and MVP. And he never really stopped after that. He was a five-time NBA All-Star in his career, and in 1978, he ended up winning the championship and Finals MVP for that year, winning the Wizards, or I guess Washington City's only championship, I think, too, against the Seattle Supersonics. So, I mean, solidified legend. His numbers had to have been retired. He wore number 41, very interesting number. Dirk's number too. But yeah, that number's retired. He made the top 50 list when it came out in the late 90s. He made the top 75 list for all time for both of those lists. The top 75 came out last year. And he's just solidified. He might be just one of the most important players for the Washington franchise, ever. His son is actually currently the head coach of the Washington Wizards, which is cool. Yeah, you might say a little like nepo situation, but I mean, he probably did what he had to do. Wes Unseld, I mean, he was a smart player, so I can only imagine that his son followed in that line. Wes Unseld actually died during 2020, so that's unfortunate, but not without leaving his mark too on the game. And it's very cool because it's like I love basketball, so like seeing a legend who like actually shares your name is like it's almost pretty hard, right? Because you get pretty weird names for basketball players, like LeBron and Irvin, Larry, Kobe. Like who names their kid Kobe before Kobe like existed? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's cool to have a Wes out there who changed the game. And I guess to end it off, to sort of talk about the last Wes in this list, we got to talk about Blade himself, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is an actor born in 1962 in Orlando. I don't know if people really know that, but he grew up in the Bronx. He actually attended LaGuardia High, like nearby, but he moved back to Orlando before graduating from there. and then he ended up coming back to New York for college. But yeah, Wesley Snipes, New York guy. I only know him from like White Men Can't Jump. To be honest, I never watched the Blade movies, which is like crazy because it's like another situation where I just didn't do the research. No, but I'd Wesley Snipes, another person you could sort of catch up with their work on. Wesley Snipes, he's a martial artist. Had to play Blade, so I didn't know that he was kind of like in the circuit a little bit for like martial arts as well. Kind of like low key doing some Jackie Chan stuff, the way he was like acting and fighting. But he's in New Jack City, one of the Expendables. I mean, he's kind of just been around. You know what I mean? Like Wesley Snipes, um, he was in the Michael Jackson Bad music video. He was the antagonist. He appeared on Miami Vice. He's like I said, he's just kind of been around. His apartment got destroyed in 9/11, like with the collapse of the towers. I didn't know that, which is crazy. He was out of town at the time, so I mean, luckily enough, we still have Wesley Snipes with us today because he wasn't in his apartment during that time. But crazy, crazy fact to kind of know. He was raised Christian, but he converted to Islam in 1978, and then left a decade later. Probably for very personal reasons. I don't, on some level, like I can try to understand, but he probably sort of has his perspective, his take on it, sort of how he grew in that religion in a lot of sense. But in 1991, 3 years after he sort of unconverted or whatever, he has a quote saying that Islam made me more conscious of what African people have accomplished, of my self-worth, and gave me some self-dignity. So I can only imagine like those were some values that really spoke to him about the religion at the time, and just really interesting stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't know that about him. You don't really get a lot of actors who kind of, or entertainers, anyone who works in the arts like that, kind of have that journey with that religion in particular in America. So yeah, I mean those are some of the greatest Wes's ever, y'all. I mean, get familiar because it's an amazing name. You're gonna see more and more of us. You have a guy who made his impact on the special effects game and animation, especially in live action, with Wes Takahashi. You have a legendary chess player constantly pushing the bounds till this day, gunning for that number one seat on top of the chess world, Filipino-born in Wesley So. You got Wes Montgomery added to the development of jazz fusion, had a unique way of playing the guitar that is like still emulated but never fully achieved the same way he did. You have Wes Anderson constantly making like clean film after clean film, like just really good movies, and all with this unique voice that speaks to a lot of people and that inspires a lot of people, but isn't really commonly found today, or at least well enough. Wes Craven, father of horror films, and slashers, and you know, created some of like the scariest sort of figures that are referenced in today, still thought about today. I mean, like Scream, the new Scream is just coming out. You know what I mean? Like, it's still these are very much figures and ideas that scare us, all coming from this guy that like was born in Cleveland and like studied teaching. You know what I mean? Interesting stuff. And then you have a legendary basketball player, probably the most important Washington Wizards player ever. Let's be honest, because the Wizards haven't been close to a championship since then. It's pretty cool, actually. Not the more that I think about it. Yeah, Wes Unseld killed the game for the Wizards, or the Bullets actually, which is a way cooler name. I wish they could have kept that. And Wesley Snipes, well-known actor, a guy who's sort of an inspiration for just black actors in general, and a guy who's just sort of been around and like has been under public eye and acted for a while now. So yeah, those are some really cool guys. You know what I mean? That I really wanted to mention. Um, so yeah, I just hope you learned something. Hope you continue sort of looking into what they do, and I hope you enjoy the ending of this episode this time because I still haven't come up with anything to sign this off. No, but it's in all seriousness though. Like, I'm gonna see you guys next week. Just hope you have a good night. Hope you enjoy just hearing me be like inadvertently narcissistic about my own name for a while. So yeah, see you next week. Stay healthy. Don't get sick like how I kind of feel like I am getting right now. So, is there anything else to really talk about? Like, not really. The next episode. Oh yeah, here I'll end it off with the pitch for the next one. We're having our first guest next week. Everybody, give it up. You know what I mean? Wes is making it happen. Well, I'm actually having it with my roommate, but also just close friend and collaborator, Peter Vasquez. We're going to be exploring Stanley Kubrick's filmography. We got to watch like some of his movies because we still haven't watched them, to be honest. But we've seen most of his filmography, so we're pretty excited about sort of exploring Stanley's perspective, the way he treated cinema, and like what these stories sort of communicate to us. I mean, The Shining is one of my favorite movies of all time. That'll be interesting to sort of tackle objectively, because some people just don't get that movie. But yeah, that's what we're doing next week. So I hope that's exciting at least. And if you haven't seen Stanley Kubrick's movies, especially, I hope you're probably gonna learn a lot. Hopefully, you're looking forward to the next one. See you guys later.